the book you've all been waiting for and asking for, The Art of Big Hero 6. Hey guys, it's Morgan with Rotoscopers, and like I said, I am doing The Art of Big Hero 6. I'm so excited to review this book. The movie looks incredible. I haven't seen it yet. I get to see it next week, so stay tuned for my review. So Big Hero 6 is Walt Disney Animation Studios' first comic book movie. Ooh. It's a really, really cool concept and premise, and I'm really excited that Disney got to take it on. 2 years ago with Wreck-It Ralph, Disney did something completely different. They went to the world of video games. And this time they're going to the world of superheroes. And you definitely see that in this book. So one of the first things that I noticed that was really interesting is at the very beginning they had a page and there was some art on it, but on the side it mentioned all the artists who had been involved in this book. So even if an artist just had one piece featured in the book, their name was there. And so it was really cool because you could scroll through and see, oh, I know that person, I really like that person's style, and whatnot. And you realize just in all the pre-dev work, how many people are involved. It was phenomenal. I loved it. I'd never seen that in an art book before. I thought that was really neat. So other than the preface, forward, and introduction, this book is really divided into 3 sections. The world, the characters, and the cinematography. And I think that's really interesting because normally you space it out a little bit more, and sometimes they go very chronologically. And one thing I will say with this book is no spoilers. I kind of know what happens in the story of Big Hero 6. No spoilers. And so I wasn't afraid to read this book before seeing the movie. That being said, I knew the general plot. There were still a lot of surprises in here, which I'm excited to see in action in the movie, but regarding like how it ends and any like big twists or whatever, like no. Don't even worry about it because it's not in there. I think Disney did a really good job because with art books you can get spoiled and it is a little bit disappointing, and sometimes people get these books and they're like, yay! Oh wait, I can't read it because I actually want to enjoy the movie. So don't worry, you will be able to enjoy the movie, you will be able to see this, but if you're one of those people who's avoiding every single spoiler ever, like no trailers, no new clips, then yeah, you might want to just avoid this. So the preface is by John Lasseter, obviously, and he came onto Disney in 2006 when Pixar was acquired by Disney. And so he was talking about how even back then he saw so much potential in the directors, Chris Williams and Don Hall. And so how when he had this idea for this movie that he picked them, and he was basically said, hey, we own Marvel now, go look and find something that we can make a Disney animation movie from. And Don Hall, who's a big comic book nut, was like, yes, this is awesome. So it's really cool to see the director, not saying directors aren't passionate about their work, but you know, it's like Star Wars. Everyone wants to work on Star Wars, but not everyone's gonna get it, you know? Same thing with superhero movies or comic book movies. Everyone loves those, but you're just might not be in the stars for you to work on one. So moving on, we get the forward by Chris Williams and Don Hall. They continue to talk about the development of the movie and how they're working together. And then there's just an introduction into the world of Big Hero 6 and kind of like the beginning parts of the movie. One thing I really liked about this movie, they talk about a lot in the book, is how they wanted to create a very different design aesthetic. The original comic was Japanese, and so you could go very Japanese anime with it, and then it's comic book, so you could have a very comic book styling with it. Then it's a superhero movie at the exact same time, so that's its own can of worms. And they didn't necessarily want to copy it. They didn't want this to look like Disney's Japanese anime movie. They wanted to make it its own. So they took references and inspiration from those ideas and blended it all together and made it its own film, which is really exciting. So that's one thing they wanted, is when you see this movie to realize, I've never seen something like this before. And definitely looking at the art, that is something that I believe to be true. In Big Hero 6, the original comic was set in Tokyo, but in this movie they wanted to set the film in its own world, its own sort of universe, as you will. And so they took the world of Tokyo and they took the world of San Francisco and they created San Fransokyo, which was really, really exciting because there's so many things about like the colors and the lights and the bullet trains of Tokyo, and then just the history of San Francisco and just the cable cars, and you blend those all together and they created this really cool world that felt real because, you know, we know that's a real place and maybe some of us have been there, but they just developed them and merged them organically, so it's just this really cool place. Like, I wish San Fransokyo existed because it's so awesome. Really, like, you know how Disney was doing those trips to Norway so you could see the world of Frozen? They need to figure out to make this happen. theme parks, maybe? So then we move on to the world of the characters, and this is where we get to see each of the main Big Hero 6 team, a lot of other characters, some of the professors and cast, just other random people, even the cat, and I thought it was really neat. In this section, we don't really get to see a lot of the characters that could have been. Basically, we see mostly their finished design and maybe 1 to 3 other designs or rejected designs, but we don't really focus on those. And I thought that was a little disappointing, especially Baymax. The Baymax section is basically just how we know Baymax today. He's big, he's warm, he's fluffy, he's inflatable. It would have been cool to see different versions of him and what he would have looked like, but it's okay. The one character that I liked the most, and I think it's because you got to see a variety in what they were thinking of this character, was Honey Lemon. Now people have been asking, because Genesis Rodriguez is doing the voice, they're like, is she Hispanic? First off, does it matter? Doesn't really matter. Why can't a Hispanic character do a white character, or a white character do a Hispanic character, or an Asian character do whatever? I don't know, it doesn't matter to me, I just want the best voice there, but it is important to some people. And some people have been asking this, like, is she Hispanic? She doesn't really look like it, she's white with blonde hair, and you know, there's lots of ways that people from a certain ethnicity look, and you can have lighter skin, you can have darker skin, you have blonder hair, it just depends. If you're in Brazil, they look completely different than people in Mexico versus people in Guatemala and whatnot. And so, I don't know, it doesn't really bother me, but what I really liked is in the Honey Lemon section that they really go into developing it. Sometimes she has darker skin, she's a brunette, other times she's this really quirky, like almost Japanese looking girl with like blonde pigtails, and I kind of wish they would have just like really pushed the drama with her character. Like, I like the way she looks now. She's really nerdy and subdued and ridiculously tall, which is so awesome. But looking at those characters, I'm like, wow, that's very superhero to me. That's very out there. It's very over the top. And I thought it would be really cool to have a character like that, but I haven't seen the movie yet, and I am really happy with her design. But I was really captivated by those pages, so definitely check it out. And lastly, we talk about the cinematography. Disney had a new rendering system called the Hyperion Renderer, which they use to mimic light and to, you know, so that light reflects off surfaces like wood and glass and metal. Before, they couldn't really do that without a lot of manipulation, and so this is the first movie they were able to use this, and they have a lot, they took a picture with a camera and then they replicated it with the lighting system and the renderer, and it's just really, really cool. So if you're into more of the technical side of animation and the technical developments that they did in this movie, then you're gonna love this section because it's great. Oh, so very lastly, there is a good amount of text in this book, but not as much as I would have liked to have seen. It's formatted very differently from a normal art book. Since it is inspired from a comic book series, they laid it out like a comic with the big graphic rectangles and the writing inside it, and they really stuck to that, so you feel like you're sort of reading a comic book. My dog just stole something and is really naughty right now. They made it feel like a comic book with the big graphic rectangles and the writing inside, and even if you have long paragraphs, they're usually in a rectangle. So you feel like you're reading a comic book, and you know, this is inspired by one, and I kind of liked the way that they designed that. But as you continue reading this book, there's a lot of art, and it starts getting less text heavy and more art heavy. If you open it to any random page, there'll be a lot of art and then maybe one little text bubble blurb with quotes from people in the film, whether they're pre-dev, whether they're director, whether they're anyone. It's really cool because you get these little sound bites from people involved in the film rather than the writer transposing that and turning it into the story narrative. So there is a little of that, but I kind of actually, at first I was like, I don't like this, no. But thinking of it and reading through the book again, I actually thought it was quite great. Alright guys, I'm going to give The Art of Big Hero 6 4 stars. I loved this book, I thought it was great. Let's just say this right now, everyone's gonna love Big Hero 6. Everyone's gonna love it, just get ready, okay? It's gonna be a big deal. So most likely that means you're gonna like this movie and you're gonna like this book, so definitely check it out. Be sure to use our Amazon affiliate link when you're buying this book. It gives us a little kickback, so that way we can purchase more books and do more reviews for you guys, because we love doing these books, and everyone's requesting, like, do this one, do this one, do this one, and I'm like, we can't do them all. But if you use our link and you shop all the time, you'll be able to see those books soon. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Until next time, I'm Morgan, and this is the Rotoscopers YouTube.